Queen Elizabeth traveled extensively throughout her reign, visiting over 130 countries. As head of the Commonwealth, she visited many of the countries included within it. Before his death in 2021, Prince Philip also made solo trips around the world, attending funerals or meetings on the Queen's behalf. So why did the Queen refuse to visit some countries during her reign, and what were her reasons for doing so? We take a look at 10 countries Queen Elizabeth declined to visit. Number 1 is Greece. Born a Prince of Greece and Denmark, the Queen's husband, Prince Philip, fled Greece as a baby after the Greek monarchy was ousted in the 1920s. Philip's grandfather, King George I of Greece, was assassinated a few years before Philip was born, and his father, Prince Andrew of Greece and Denmark, was put on trial and faced execution. As a princess, Elizabeth visited Greece with her new husband in 1950, but she never made a state visit to the country during her reign as queen, supposedly because of the nation's fraught history with monarchy. Philip once said of his birth country, "I certainly never felt nostalgic about Greece. A grandfather assassinated and a father condemned to death does not endear me to the perpetrators." Number 2, Rwanda. Despite being a Commonwealth country, the Queen never made an official visit to Rwanda. Prince Charles is the first member of the royal family to visit the African country, as he attended the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting. Rwanda was gripped by the tragic genocide of its Tutsi community in 1994 during the Rwandan Civil War, which saw hundreds of thousands of people killed by majority Hutu extremists. Aside from Rwanda, number 3 is Argentina. The Queen never visited Argentina, although her late husband, Prince Philip, did in 1962. The Queen visited Brazil and Chile in 1968. She also took a trip to Guyana in 1994. The rest of South America remained unvisited. However, Argentina's exclusion was notable. A visit to Argentina was never likely due to the tensions between the South American nation and the UK over the Falkland Islands, a British overseas territory. Argentina invaded the Falkland Islands in 1982, which prompted retaliation from the British Armed Forces. The Argentine side surrendered after 74 days of conflict, with hundreds of military personnel on both sides killed during the hostilities. Although Prince Philip and Princess Anne had previously visited the country, that was about it. 4 is Cuba. A state visit to Cuba was never on the cards for the Queen, due to some of the travel restrictions for Western travelers as a communist country. The Queen had no intentions of traveling to the communist country. While UK tourists could enter the island for a holiday, a number of sanctions prevented US citizens from entering following the Cuban Missile Crisis. Cuba is still sanctioned by the US. A visit to the island would have upset the US and UK relations. Number 5 is Bhutan. The Queen visited many countries across Asia. Bhutan is a rare South Asian country she never traveled to. Apparently, Bhutan was considered too small to be worth a royal visit. Prince William and the Duchess of Cambridge visited the country during their tour of India in 2016. Number 6 is Israel. Reasons given for the apparent snub ranged from a fear of upsetting wealthy Gulf Arab nations and losing subsequent trade deals, to the violent insurgency waged against the British mandate in Palestine by Zionist armed groups prior to Israel's declaration of independence in 1948. Visiting Jordan in 1984, one of several visits she made to the Middle East, the Queen was reported to have said, "How frightening," as Israeli fighter jets shot past in the sky as she viewed the West Bank in the distance. Queen Noor, King Hussein of Jordan's wife, was said to have replied, "It's terrible." Later, after viewing a map showing the locations of illegal settlements in the occupied West Bank, Queen Elizabeth was quoted as saying, "What a depressing map." King Charles III made an official visit as Prince of Wales to Israel and the occupied West Bank in January 2020. In Jerusalem, he delivered a speech at the World Holocaust Forum to mark the 75th anniversary of the liberation of the Nazi death camp at Auschwitz. In his speech, Charles warned that lessons of the Holocaust were still searingly relevant and called on world leaders to be fearless in confronting falsehoods and violence. Number 7 is Monaco. The Queen was invited to Monaco in 1956, which was the wedding occasion of Prince Rainier and Grace Kelly, but Queen Elizabeth didn't like the media spectacle as she claimed there would be too many movie stars there. She wanted to be the center of attention. Again, Monaco is a principality just like Liechtenstein. British royals don't view principalities worthy of state visits. So why is the sovereign of Monaco a prince and not a king? As a principality, Monaco's small size and vulnerability have meant that, historically, it has had to rely on the help of other nations for its self-preservation. As such, its rulers have used the word prince to style themselves, the implication being that it's easier to form and maintain alliances if a ruler needing help doesn't try to throw his weight around. Number 8 is Montenegro. The Queen almost visited the country by accident, which was back in 1972 when it was still part of Yugoslavia. Elizabeth and Philip visited Serbia and Belgrade. Their next destination was Dubrovnik and Croatia. However, a heavy storm over Dubrovnik changed the itinerary. The royals opted to fly to Titograd instead. This city, now known as Podgorica, is the capital of Montenegro. The news crew rushed to Titograd to await the royals, then the weather suddenly cleared. They then flew back to Dubrovnik, where no one was waiting. The Queen never did visit Montenegro. Number 9 is Liechtenstein. Just like Monaco, the country of Liechtenstein, which is a principality, is a German-speaking and doubly landlocked country and microstate located in the Alps between Austria and Switzerland. It is the 6th smallest nation worldwide. Liechtenstein is a semi-constitutional monarchy headed by the Prince of Liechtenstein. Though the Queen had visited Austria and Switzerland, which enclaved it, she snubbed the principality because it wasn't worth a state visit. Finally, number 10 is Ukraine. Ukraine officially declared itself an independent country on the 24th of August, 1991, when the Communist Supreme Soviet, Parliament of Ukraine, proclaimed that Ukraine would no longer follow the laws of USSR and only the laws of the Ukrainian SSR, de facto declaring Ukraine's independence from the Soviet Union. The killing of Nicholas II and his family in 1918 prevented royal trips from being made to Russia and the Soviet Union until 1994, when Queen Elizabeth made her first and only visit to Russia. Despite this, the Queen declined an invitation by Gorbachev to visit the Soviet Union. Following the dissolution of the Soviet Union, Prince Charles visited St. Petersburg in May 1994. Thanks for watching, and please don't forget to subscribe for more videos.